and those in favor get 3 minutes combined to present their case. If there are opponents or if staff is in opposition, the petitioner gets 10 minutes. Opponents get a total of 10 minutes, and the petitioner will then get a 2-minute rebuttal. If no one's opposed or signed up to speak, staff provides with a short presentation. The public hearing is closed, and the next public hearing is open. And then the petition goes to the Zoning Committee or of Planning Commission for review and recommendation. So with that, we'll go back to item number 21, Foundation of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Let me do I'll do a brief presentation, summary of the case and the staff recommendation. So what you've got on your screen is the site location area. So in yellow is the site, just a little bit over 4 acres. Of note here, so this is North Tryon. This is the station, the J.W. Clay University City Station of the Blue Line extension. You see the campus, and then the University City development around the station. And of note there again is the Katz parking deck immediately across the street. Quick snapshot of the future land use. Of note here is the sort of the brown color, which is the transit supportive use adopted as part of the area plan, the University City area plan back in 2015, which was anticipating the development, the transit-oriented development around the station. And then obviously you see the context of the university. So it's this site, sort of this bridge between the university and the connection to North Tryon and the Blue Line Extension Station. One last context is just good to kind of see again, what is pretty strategic about this location. So here's a view. North Tryon, you're kind of looking towards the campus. So again, the station, this view's a little old. It shows the deck under construction, but that's the Katz Park and Ride. And then again, the site highlighted in yellow. And again, it's just noteworthy here to see that direct link from the station, the Katz Park and Ride, and the heart of the campus here. So this site's a pretty strategic location. You'll see that in some of the site design and the planning for the development. Here's now a zoom in of the site plan itself. So just kind of a little bit closer view of the same things. The parking deck, there's the station itself, North Tryon, and then the site. So the proposal here is for essentially a hotel conference room, a 230 room hotel. The main building of that you sort of see here, the ballroom and conference room kind of attached to it, a parking structure off to the sort of the northern side of the site. With an orientation, kind of a building orientation and frontage along North Tryon and J.W. Clay. A couple of other things of note here just in terms of how the site works. There's an access on the back side, so it sits at Robert Snyder, J.W. Clay, and North Tryon. The main access, parking access for the hotel is sort of in a porte cochere off the back side of Robert Snyder. And then an access to the parking deck. Again, the main core of the parking sits just to the north of the site. Another key part of this, and this goes back to the notion of this connection of the station to the campus, is the site was also designed to have a really clear and strong pedestrian connection. So there's a bridge, as many of you will know, a connection from the station, both from the deck to the station platform and then across the street to North Tryon. This site was designed to then have a pedestrian connection sort of through the site, gets you to that, but also kind of breaks the site up and gives you better access to the campus itself. A couple of the note things here of this plan, why it's through the rezone, there's a couple of optional provisions. They're using our transit-oriented zoning district, but there's a couple of provisions about the orientation of the parking and parking and maneuvering in general. So there's 2 optional provisions. One is in our zoning district for TOD, we discourage having parking between a street and a building, and we also require activation along parking decks. This plan is asking for options on those 2 conditions. One, sort of respecting and kind of thinking through the uniqueness of the hotel use and its relationship to the campus to allow for that drop-off for the hotel. And then as you'll see from the petitioner, there's some topographic issues here that sort of require the deck to be kind of partly underground as its North Tryon frontage, which makes it difficult to front with development. And then it has just a relatively limited exposure on Robert Snyder. So those are optional provisions they're asking for. In return, though, one of the unique things about this site was the ability to really make a strong open space connection. So you'll see a series of commitments they've made about the frontage Along North Tryon, there'll be some outdoor dining and retail activation here at the corner, open space and connections to the station itself. I've mentioned here in red is that pedestrian connection, and then some other designed and kind of sort of publicly oriented open space. It's really a linear park that runs along North Tryon. So the uniqueness of that site became a really strong feature how this could connect to the station and accommodate the uniqueness of this mixed-use development. Staff is recommending approval of this petition. It's consistent with the stationary plan, the notion of having higher intensity development here. It really meets all the goals that we have about the transit-oriented development of the station. And as I just mentioned, those optional provisions about the site design were unique to this site. And we felt that the open space commitment, the public space commitment here made a really unique opportunity for public open space at the station. With that, I'll turn it over to the petitioner.
Thank you. And we've got 4 speakers tonight, all in favor. Mr. Jeff Brown, Toby Holmes, Niles Sorensen, and Manny Dominguez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Isel, and we'll be quick tonight. I know there's a lot that y'all have covered, and we'll try to move fast. It's a pleasure to be here assisting University of North Carolina at Charlotte's foundation. With me are Niles Sorensen, who's the president of the UNC Foundation, as well as Betty Doster, Special Assistant to the Chancellor for Constituent Relations, Manny Dominguez of Cooper Carey Architects, as well as Kristen Mansfield of McAdams, the land planner. Mr. McKinney did a very great comprehensive job on this project. We've worked really hard with the staff. We're very pleased with the results of being able to activate the Tryon Street area and being able to provide for this very important location. We're confident we'll be able to work through the remaining site plan issues. We've provided materials for you. We won't repeat those. We'll dispense with a further review of all that, except to say that we really think this is a unique opportunity to provide for some unique conference uses in a pivotal location with a lot of energy that's also provided through some of the ancillary uses. I'm going to turn it over to Toby Holmes of University City Partners, who will speak very briefly also in support. And thank you again for this time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, City Council, and again, very briefly, Toby Holmes, representing University City Partners tonight. I'm glad to be here with this group. We have worked together over the last several months. The foundation, their world-class architect, Cooper Carey, the university, city staff, so many others to create a project that we are very proud of the results of. We think it'll contribute very nicely to University City, both as a product and also a place for our community. As an organization that focuses on the economic development in University City, we believe this will very much help us in that endeavor. It also will set the tone for the cross-section of North Tryon Street and J.W. Clay, both in raising the bar for future quality and character of that area. So thank you all for considering this tonight and how this might improve the foundation of one of our city's most important economic drivers and also town creators. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 40 seconds if you wanted. You good? Thanks. Do we have any questions, Mr. Eggleston?
I just want to give kudos to our friends at UNC Charlotte. I think this project is going to be a really good connection between what is a very important asset to this community in the UNC Charlotte campus and what is a very important asset in this community in the Blue Line extension of the links. So I'm excited about this, and thank you all for bringing forward something that we can really use to help support the transportation infrastructure that we've invested in.
Will the public hearing be closed? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Hey, what you talk, Greg?
I was gonna do that,
I
but
apologize.
It's his district.
I was
It's
just,
their district.
Second district.
I mean, I don't know if I can really add that much to what's been said already. I mean, this is a project that's definitely needed. It's definitely needed in our area. Hotel Conference Center. I think it'll be a good attraction for business visitors coming to this unique area up in University City. So I think everything's been said, and I would like to second Mr. Mitchell's motion that we move to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Okay. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Apologize, GP, I was too quick.
Getting to that hour of the night, now we know why we usually try to finish by 10. Item number 22, agenda item 22, petition number 2018-048 by Novant Health, approximately 1.5 acres located on the northwest corner of Statesville Avenue and Newland Road, west of Norris Avenue in Council Eggleston's district. The current zoning is R22MF, multifamily residential, and it's proposed for O1 city office and conditional. And we have Mr. Kinney again.
Thank you. I'll just provide a quick summary of the petition, our recommendation. Again, on the aerial, you'll see in highlighted in yellow is sort of the triangular site of this petition. Statesville, Newland Road, you'll recognize we're sort of in the heart of Bright Walk. So as we zoom in, I'll talk a little bit about some of the changes and how this reflects the evolution of what's happening in the Bright Walk neighborhood. Again, just a snapshot of the future land use. You get a sense of the sort of the mix of residential and development that's happening in Bright Walk. I'll talk a little bit about there's a rezoning that occurred here that talks a little bit about how this fits into kind of an emerging node of commercial and retail. And then you can see there was essentially the reason why it's currently zoned for R22 and the future land use reflects multifamily was an earlier anticipation of that being more residential as part of the development of Bright Walk. So zooming in on the site, just to talk a little bit about the particulars of the petition. So here's, again, the site. What's below here is just a sort of a diagram of what was rezoned recently for context, which is the Bright Walk Retail Village. So several buildings, retail, commercial around an open space. There's a newly realigned version of Newland Road that's underway that will connect to Statesville. So this project is essentially going to an office use, looking to do just a little over 7,000 square feet of medical office. Arranged, again, the context here is important, kind of arranged in a way that orients to Statesville. Open space here that will reflect the development pattern that's happening at the Bright Walk Retail Village. There'll be some great orientation of the building and transparency, sort of a street frontage along Statesville with an entrance particularly related to the street. So it's, from our perspective, it sort of fits into the evolution of this emerging node of mixed use and commercial around this site within the heart of Bright Walk. Staff recommends approval of this petition. Again, it's inconsistent simply because of that previous anticipation of multifamily, but we believe, given the development, the context around this makes sense for the services and kind of the activation, the true mixed use that happens around Bright Walk. As you saw on the site plan, it really reflects all the expectations we have about creating a walkable neighborhood and providing those services within walking distance of residents. There are a few details on outstanding issues, but those are mostly technical and design related that we're working through. And with that, I'll turn it over to the petitioner.
Thank you. We have four speakers in favor of this petition: Jeff Mangus, Matt Steen, Andy Mueller, and Mike Hoban. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Matt Steen. I'm the Vice President of Engineering at Novant Health, and I'll speak on behalf of all four of our speakers. This is an exciting project for us. We're working on with a philanthropic partner, kind of a new model for us to integrate a clinic with multiple services in an underserved community, and I will answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Mr. Eggleston?
While I'm heaping praises on things tonight, I'll do one more. This is a needed service provider in a community that I think is really going to appreciate it. And so kudos to Novant and kudos to our friend and neighbor, Michael Jordan, who I know is involved in this. Please pass our, we hope he feels better. I assume he was sick if he didn't make it here tonight. We will expect to see him for the vote next month.
Dr. Harlow?
Yeah, just echoing that. This is right on the borderline here of District 2 and then the Double Oaks community and what's now Bright Walk. Much needed amenity here, and from a health standpoint as the neighborhood continues to change. So look forward to supporting this and approval next month.
Thank you.
Mr. Winston.
I'll just echo what my colleagues have said. You know, when we think about affordable housing and developing mixed income communities, it's not just homes and it's not just jobs, it is services, it's the ability to not just go to your doctor, but create a relationship and a knowledge base that is really, you know, money can't buy. So thank you for getting this project through. Look forward to voting for it next
Move the
month.
public hearing be closed.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 23, rezoning petition 2018-052 by Poston Provisions, located, approximately .22 acres located at the corner of South Mint Street and Spruce Street, located in Council Member Mayfield's district. It's currently zoned R5 Single Family Residential, R5 HDO Historic District Overlay, and the proposed zoning is for MUD O HDO Mixed Use Development Optional Historic District Overlay.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This property is located at the corner of Spruce Street and South Mint. Greater Galilee Baptist Church, which was the subject of several rezonings several years ago, is located right across Spruce Street. The property, the request is from R5 Single Family Residential within the Historic District Overlay to MUD Optional. I want to go very quickly to the adopted future land use map, show you that it recommends actually single-family residential at 5 dwelling units per acre for the site, but this is the site. This is an existing commercial use that has been there for many years, and what we have today is a Poston Provisions that has occupied the building, and they want to go in and add a deck to the rear and some seating along the front. And in order to accomplish that, they have to get a rezoning for several optional requests. The property is in the historic overlay, which is shown there in the orange. It's right smack dab in the middle. The optional provisions relate to site distance triangles and to allowing existing portions of the planting strip and sidewalk to remain both along Mint and Spruce Street. The deck that they're proposing is here, outdoor seating here at the corner, the existing buildings to remain. It is beside an existing parking deck that was rezoned for Greater Galilee Baptist Church. So the rezoning is inconsistent with the area plan, but the staff feels that this petition is reasonable, that it will allow reuse of and small expansion of an existing building and now allow a non-conforming use to become conforming.
Thank you. We have two speakers, both in favor, Nathan Gray and Deborah Glennon. Are either here tonight? Great.
Nathan emailed me,
Is it,
so I have an email from
okay.
Nathan.
And you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Glennon. I'm with Osborne Engineering Group, and I will keep it short. I'm here to answer any questions.
Oh.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, Nathan did reach out and send an email, but moved to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Love the pasta.
Item number 24 is 2018-055 by Riverbend Charlotte LLC, approximately 3.19 acres located on the west side of Rozzles Ferry Road, south of Winding River Drive in Dr. Harlow's district, District 2.
It's delicious.
The current zoning is R8MF CD, multifamily residential, conditional Lake Wiley protected area. And the proposed zoning is for single-family residential Lake Wiley protected area, R5 LWPA. And Ms. Keplinger, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. This property is on Russell's Ferry Road. It is just north of Mount Holly, Huntersville Road. We had another rezoning not too long ago that was quite controversial that was right here for conventional. This is Brookshire Boulevard. This property was rezoned multiple years ago as a part of the Riverbend neighborhood, which is developed back in behind. This particular property was designated to either be a sales office or a daycare. So the request now is to rezone this from R8 MFCD, Lake Wylie Protected Area, to R5 Lake Wylie Protected Area. It is a conventional rezoning. So we do not know what they want to do, but in an R5, it's pretty much limited to single-family residential. So it is inconsistent with the area plan, which follows the approval from the previous rezoning and recommends the sales office or a daycare, but staff feels like it is consistent with the area, and we are recommending approval.
Okay, and we have one speaker, Mr. Mark, is it Hool? Very good. Oh. And you have 3 minutes, Mr. Hool.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hool. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. Harlow?
Thank you. This is for staff. I'm just a little confused, and I guess, I don't know, this seems extremely straightforward. You get something that's really old that never really came to pass. I mean, I know this community, they're probably just gonna add a couple more houses right there at the entrance. Why did this actually need a rezoning at all?
Because the previous rezoning restricted it to 2 uses only, and that was the daycare or the sales office for the subdivision. So they could not legally have single-family residential on the site.
Okay, so it's just very tight conditions.
It was very tight.
Okay, all right, good deal.
Any other?
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Public hearing, thank you. That brings us to item 25, petition number 2018-060 by Eid Rafay. Thank you. Approximately 1.04 acres located on the north side of Parkwood Avenue, east of Harold Street, and west of Allen Street. And this is Councilmember Eggleston's district, District 1. It's currently zoned R5 single-family residential, proposed for UR2 urban residential conditional. Kaplinger.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, do we have speakers in opposition to this request still?
We do. We have 3 speakers tonight, 2 in favor, Paul Pinnell and Eid Rafay. Are you both here? And then 1, Blake Tinsley, against. Is Mr. Tinsley here? Nope. So it looks like we just have those in favor, which goes down to 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This petition is located on Parkwood Avenue between Allen and Harold Street. The request is to go from R5 single-family residential to UR2 CD urban residential conditional. The 2003 Belmont Area Revitalization Plan recommended single-family residential and institutional for the subject property. The proposed request that's before you tonight, I want to switch over and show you the big part of the property is the existing church. The request is to provide for multifamily housing 18 units within the existing church. There will be 3 additional buildings built. Each of them will contain a duplex, so a total of 24 units on the site. They have specified building materials, a lot of things that are already listed in your agenda. I will not go through all of those. In terms of this request, the church was built in 1928, and the placement of the buildings and duplexes are consistent with what we find in the surrounding area. It includes commitments to provide usable porches and stoops, which are consistent with the area, and staff is recommending approval upon the resolution of the outstanding issues.
Thank you. Do we have our speakers here this evening? Mr. Pinnell or Mr. Rafay? Thank you, and you have 3 minutes total.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about the Parkwood Reformed Presbyterian Church. I'm Paul Pinnell, representing the petitioner with Urban Design Partners. In 1929, the congregation of the Parkwood Avenue Reformed Church gathered on what was certainly a cold afternoon on January 6th. A few years earlier, Louis Asbury, a Charlotte native, an architect, and the first AI member in North Carolina, and previous MIT graduate was hired to provide design documents for this church. Fast forward to 2015, the building was no longer used as a church and came into ownership of our client in 2017. He has a desire to protect the church and adaptively reuse it for a residential purpose. And I am here tonight to answer any potential questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Pennell? And are you speaking also for Mr.?
I'm also speaking for E tonight, yes, our client.
Okay, great. Anyone?
Me.
Mr.
Larkin heard the word adaptive reuse.
Mr. Eggleston, and then both of Mr. Phipps and Mr. Vakari, do you? Okay, Mr. Phipps, you do?
Bring us home.
Mr. Phipps, do you have questions?
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
I'm going to go with Mr. Eggleston first,
Okay,
then I'll
all
go
right,
with you.
okay.
First of all, thank you. This was right before we got sworn on to City Council. I was still on the Historic Landmarks Commission. This church was one of the last things that I championed designating as a historic landmark to start the process of doing that study towards that end. And I drive by this all the time, and it's arguably the most important piece of the built environment in the Villa Heights neighborhood, and also very important to the adjacent Belmont community. And I think that you'll set a precedent here. I hope that you'll set a precedent here that we can find ways to convert some of these beautiful churches in our community that have gone out of religious use into residential use, because I think it's a really unique way for us to create housing, a different type of housing. My question is, I know you've got the 6 new units that will be created. I believe they said 18 in the church building itself. Bless you. Has there been any consideration as to whether a few of those units might be available to be locked in with some affordability?
There has been discussion with that. Based on the financial constraints of rehabilitating the building, the exact AMI classification has not been identified just yet, but our client has discussed maybe identifying 1 or 2 potential units within the church as a potential affordable unit.
We appreciate y'all's consideration of that, and generally I am greatly appreciative of what is being done here to preserve this church, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Phipps?
Yeah, I was curious as to, as much as the church has been designated, has it been designated as a historical landmark?
Not yet, I don't believe.
The church not yet has been designated as a historic landmark. Our client is willing to pursue that. That we would just like to get through the rezoning and land development process prior to that formally being conducted.
Because I was curious as if it is, I was wondering how is it that if it's designated that you can do these sorts of things with it. I thought it was fairly restrictive in what you could do when something is, labeled or characterized as a historic landmark.
We have our local resident.
So it actually just, what it means is that it would go through a design review process with the Historic Landmarks Commission. So historic landmark status doesn't preclude any changes from being made. It just says that they have to be in keeping with the history of the structure. And in this case, a lot of that would probably be around preserving and restoring to its original state the outside of the building, but some structural changes inside to help it be converted into residential would be allowed. Again, pending approval of the Design Review Committee and the Historic Landmarks Commission.
Mr. Vakari, Mr. Phipps, were you finished?
Go ahead, yeah, finish up, bud.
So, then is the requisite parking already taken care of in view of the fact that it was a church with a congregation, probably has a parking lot, so that's going to be sufficient for parking for these living units that you're contemplating?
It will be. Currently, right now, we're looking at a parking ratio of approximately 2 to 2.25. And everything, all the residential, everyone living on the property will have a parking space located on property. There's no intention here to have on-street parking on Allen or Harrell Street.
Mr. Vakari.
This might be to Mr. Eggleston, our local resident here, expert, but is there any danger to doing the rezoning before the historical landmark designation?
Yes, but there's not much historical precedent for designating a landmark against the objections of the property owner. So the fact that they have demonstrated or expressed a willingness to pursue designation is a good thing. And if at some point, they are the property owner, so if at some point they said, if we denied this or said we want you to designate it, we can't really force people to designate properties. This one has, the Landmarks Commission study demonstrates that it's worthy of designation. They've expressed an interest in it. It would be unprecedented for us to designate it against their objections. So in this case, we'll hope that does come to be, but there's not really necessarily another good course of action.
Councilman Bakari, if I could provide a follow-up to that. We've actually included some provisions within the development notes to ensure that the church as is today will remain historically accurate and prevalent to what it was intended to be. But we have included some provisions within those notes to be able to update the exterior of the building to bring it up to current county building code. The one largest change on site that may occur associated with the church is that more than likely some of the stained glass windows will be coming down, but they will be reused on site, whether it be in a new exterior building or actually interior for artwork. And if anyone knows actually some stained glass windows, artisans, my client sure would like to know them in our community.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, Mr. Winston.
So one thing in this presentation I like is when we're looking for diverse housing, we're also looking for types of housing, and these are the first kind of duplexes that I can remember coming up in a long time. So cheers to that. I have a question about what those new units would look like. I'm actually not usually a big stickler on design standards and what you use to tile the roof and things like that, but like Mr. Eggleston, I do drive up and down Parkwood quite often, daily, multiple times a day, and I see the types of new units that are going up. And honestly, they really just don't fit. It's almost a kind of design gentrification that's going on in addition to the actual gentrification. So I was wondering if you were considering with the new units them being in kind of the flavor of the church or in flavor of the kind of existing properties that do exist in this area? Or is this going to be something new and wild and pushing the envelope?
Councilman Winston, thank you for your comment.
I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes,
yeah.
please.
I just want to make sure we're careful here because this is a duplex. Is that true?
They are duplexes, yes.
So single family and duplex, we can't talk about design. Okay. Only multifamily.
All right.
Thought we were going to get away with that when Mr. Driggs not
So
here.
is that it for questions? Do we have a motion to close public hearing?
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you for your time this evening.
thank you.
Keep him in check.
Oh, did I get Mr. Phipps? You, yeah, I got you. Yep. Okay, item number 26. Petition number 2018-057 by Shea Homes, approximately 3.87 acres located on the south side of South Bruns Avenue, east of Harold Street and west of West Trade Street in Dr. Harlow's District Number 2. Current zoning is UR2, urban residential conditional, and R8, single-family residential. The proposed rezoning is for UR2, urban residential conditional site plan amendment. And we have Mr. McKinney again.
They give you a quick overview. I don't have the aerial here, but this shows the site in black with the current zoning on it. Just for context, again, there runs West Trade, Roswell Ferry, the intersection of Roswell Ferry. There's Johnson C. Smith University, sort of in the heart of the Wesley Heights neighborhood. So this is important here to see the zoning. So there's essentially 3 sites here: a UR2 conditional plan for townhomes here, another one here, and then in the middle is the piece that's being incorporated here. So it's essentially rezoning that middle piece and then updating the site plan for the 2 other pieces to a consistent residential master plan. This is a zoom in of that site plan. So again, there's the site. Bruns is sort of the main frontage here, and it doesn't show exactly, but that single family R8 residential piece is essentially right here. What this plan does is essentially incorporate the two previous rezonings for townhomes with those smaller two lot pieces of the R8 into one unified plan. The total is 58 townhomes. Just for context, the two zonings, previous UR rezonings allowed for up to 53 units. So this inclusion now allows for 58. All the sort of the same design aspects are kept. This actually allows a much more unified plan to incorporate with an alley access on the backside, all the units front along runs, open space and buffers on the backside. It actually allows for a much more cohesive plan that fits into the neighborhood a little bit more cleanly. One quick note about the plan consistency, go back to the zoning piece here. So the rezoning showed for up to 20, or the rezoning allowed for essentially this future land use of 22 units per acre, 17 units per acre, and then that middle piece is 8 units per acre. The inconsistency of this plan is essentially that single family residential portion. Staff does recommend approval of the plan. Again, with that inconsistency on the single family residential, we believe overall this provides a more cohesive design, incorporates the townhomes in a way that fits into the neighborhoods more strongly, better access and relationship of the buildings to the street and parking behind. A couple of site plan issues we still want to work through. There's an issue we want to try to work through, getting the scale and the number of units that are combined in those townhomes to be a little more broken up to provide a better context for the neighborhood. But overall, again, we support the petition and we'll be working through those final issues.
Thank you. And we have 3 speakers all in favor, so you have 3 minutes. Mr. Brown, Mike Shea, and Matt Kearns.
Mayor Pro Tem Colin Brown with K&L Gates on behalf of the petitioner Shea Homes. With me tonight is Mike Shea and Matt Kearns, also Eddie Moore with McAdams. I'm happy to give you a presentation if you'd like. It's 10 o'clock, so I'll kind of over your pleasure.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harlow has seen this a few times. We've had some pretty good neighborhood outreach. I think the feedback's been generally positive.
Dr. Harlow, would you like to speak to that?
Sounds great.
Oh, Mike, you got to make him earn his paycheck tonight, man.
Oh, I'm happy to. I love talking.
No, real quickly, no, there's tons of community engagement sessions here. Of course, the required community meeting, but I think maybe 2 or 3 other kind of softer meetings in the Seversville neighborhood. So I got to correct you there, Ed. Mr. Pruitt and Jatanya Adams would hate if you called this Wesley Heights. This is Seversville, but nonetheless, there's a lot going on in this area here. I think it's a perfect land use. A lot of blank land, really, right next to Bruns Academy, the school, right in front of Wallace Pruitt Rec Center. A stone's throw away from the Greenway and Savona Mill and Blue Blaze Brewery. It will be literally, 2 blocks up from a future streetcar stop. So 4 different CNIT projects going on within a mile radius from this site. A lot of public investment, so this type of private investment is, I think, kind of perfect. I don't know. Tywell might call this, place type B, maybe, I don't know, TIDB. Anyway, but nonetheless, I think it's very supportive of it. I like the, idea of what this looks like, wide planting strips, wide sidewalks leading to the Greenway. So, good product. Look forward to support it. Move to
Thank
close.
you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, that closes that public hearing, and it brings us to our last one. Wow, I cannot believe it.
Keep this pace on the
Yeah.
Mondays.
Yeah.
We'd
We
be
gotta do
all
this
right.
every zoning meeting. Item number 27, rezoning number 2000, petition number 2018-062, BPR Properties, approximately .36 acres located on the south side of South Brevard Street, east of East 4th Street in Council District 1, Mr. Eggleston's district, currently zoned UMUD Uptown Mixed Use, proposed for UMUD O Uptown Mixed Use optional. And I just want to ask, we have listed speakers for and against. Is that still the case? Is Ms. Todd here? All right, then now we've got 7 more minutes back. We have Mr. Carmichael, Mr. Overcash, Mr. Gower, Mr. Patel, and Mr. Schaefer. all speaking in favor and, oh, I'm sorry. First, Mr. Kinney. I was getting ahead of myself. Okay, Mr. Kinney, go ahead.
I'll be quick. A quick overview. This is even closer to home. We're just a couple of blocks from where we're sitting here tonight. So you recognize the transit center, obviously Spectrum. This sits on Brevard Street, a site immediately across from the transit center. Again, in the heart of Uptown, currently zoned UMUD. Really, the issue here is some optional provisions, so I'll walk you through the details of the optional provisions. Not much more to show you here, just as sort of a zoom in of the site. The key thing here to see is it's a small site, it's an urban site, so a big part of the optional provisions are about how to incorporate and fulfill the expectations we have for the urban UMUD development, but also accommodate the kind of unique sort of small scale of this parcel. I want to make a quick mention here about the Brevard Street plan. This is an adopted plan that's a sort of a sub-area plan of Uptown, which was done back in 2013-14, adopted. Key part of this was some standards around the street frontage and the setbacks and the step backs. I'll walk you through that. This really gets into the form of making sure that we've got the right amount of public space, the building set back the right way from the street. And we also had some provisions here about once you got to a certain height, in this case 60 feet, the building itself would be stepped back. This is different than a setback. The building itself is kind of pushed back at that height. Again, with the notion of kind of trying to create a pedestrian scale and kind of a really important vision about how Brevard Street is going to be this mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented street that connects you from the convention center, NASCAR, up to the arena. So here, now we're going to get a little technical. I just wanted to use this diagram to really describe just the optional provisions here that are being asked for. So this is a cross-section of the development proposal. Here's Brevard Street. Again, the notion of a small property. Here's the backside of that property line. What's outlined in black is sort of the shape of what is being proposed for this building. What's outlined in the red dash is how our current UMUD ordinance would require both the setback from the back of curb, which is 22 feet, and then that step back at 60 feet. Again, the requirement in our ordinance is 20 feet. What the petitioner is asking for is essentially allowing, once you get above that first floor, to allow the building to be 16 feet set back. This is above the street condition and actually goes back all the way to 26 feet at the street. So we actually get more street space, but the building above the second floor is at that 16-foot.
There's a term for this, right? Didn't we do this?
Cantilever.
Cantilever, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it gets up to that 60-foot height, they're stepping back, but only 10 feet. Now, I don't want to belabor all this, but I'll give you a sense of what the ordinance requires, what they're asking for. Again, the notion here is a very small site, particularly on the step back. It allows that the height of the building, once you get above, to actually step back from the property line, which would allow sort of a better architectural condition and the less requirement of the firewall on a property line. So all of these issues are essentially trying to allow this site to kind of fit to the needs of it, given the smallness of the property site. We believe it works. It gives us actually more pedestrian space at the ground level. We get 26 feet instead of 22. What happens is that sort of cantilever happens at the level above, and we still get the form we want in terms of that step back at the 60-foot level. So again, just wanted to kind of share with you that really that's the crux of what this optional provisions. Otherwise, this rezoning allows all the development and provisions and entitlements of the mixed use, the UMUD zoning district. So it's consistent with the plan overall in the Brevard Street, with the inconsistency of those design things we just talked about. We support this petition. Again, we believe it meets the intent of what we're trying to do and creates and actually enhances some of the pedestrian space we get in Uptown, and it deals with the uniqueness of the site while still meeting our longer term expectations about mixed use and pedestrian oriented development within our downtown.
Thank you. And do we have our speakers? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Stephen Overcash with Overcash Denman Architects, and I'm here to answer questions.
Mr. Eggleston?
Everybody knows I'm a fan of cantilevers, but my friend Mr. Friday has pointed out to me this is not exactly a cantilever design because we've got these large columns. I guess two questions. One, you said you're with the architecture firm?
Yes,
so
sir.
Would there be the potential to keep this design element of the possible cantilever, but make it an actual cantilever by removing those columns, which would actually create more better walkability, more pedestrian space, and I think a better design?
Okay, we've created you have the renderings. We work closely with the planning staff. We had a lot of columns out there, and it's a loggia. It's the same architectural vocabulary that all the great piazzas in Italy or Europe have. They didn't like so many columns, so we work with them to have that amount of columns. I think there's 5 or 6. So you actually do see the retail beyond. It's not an actual cantilever. You are correct. There are some columns that come down, but there is the rendering, and I think there's like 5 columns.
Are they load bearing?
They are load bearing. There is space above it. There's parking and hotel above it. And it gives you that ability to walk behind. It's called a loggia. They're the greatest spaces in Europe that you can ever go behind. And we would love to keep those 5 columns as opposed to an actual cantilever.
Gotcha. Well, I will say, in general, I like the design. I think it's a very appropriate use for that site. And so that was just one little question, but overall, I'm supportive of this and appreciate some interesting design work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And that is it for tonight. So we have, we'll go to council topics, and I will start on this end with Mr. Eggleston.
I will be brief so that we can be gone. Quickly want to thank the people who came out to throw baseballs at Councilmember Winston and I yesterday.
They didn't throw it at us.
Well, a couple of them did. Mr. Winston and I were in Plaza Midwood for Cops on the Block, a great event that CMPD helped to orchestrate with our police being really involved out in our community. Lots of family fun. One of the family fun activities was a dunk booth that they put Mr. Winston and I in, and we got dunked repeatedly to raise money for Special Olympics. So it was for a good cause. So that was a lot of fun, and thank you to everybody that came out for that. Also wanted to mention we lost one of the pillars of our community yesterday, C.D. Spangler, who was a pillar in our business community, in our state's education community, in the philanthropic community. And I just actually had gotten to meet him for the first time at the Julius Chambers Highway ceremony about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So I wish I'd have known him better, but seemed like a very kind man. I've heard nothing but good things. Want to send condolences to his family and thank them for letting him be such an integral part of this community and sharing him with us for so long.
Deal. Real quickly here, just wanted to thank Tiffany Fenton and Henry Rock with City Startup Labs. They did a really cool kind of community event this past weekend about reentry and entrepreneurship for prior offenders, and particularly Northwest and West Charlotte. Had an opportunity to attend this event at the West Charlotte Rec Center. We've got a deep interest in the community of how do we create some more entrepreneurs and do some collective social entrepreneurship, and specifically for our neighbors who have some prior offenses. So they're going to continue some work, and City Startup Labs is helping with that, continue some work and trying to just put some people back to work and find jobs for folks in our community. So kudos to them for doing that.
Mr. Winston?
I'm going to go ahead and pass this one.
I'm going to pass as well.
Okay,
Mr. Mitchell?
so I'll be very quick. First of all, happy birthday, belated birthday to my youngest blessing, Nicole,
who turned 18, and happy birthday in advance to my oldest blessing, Kayla, who would turn 21 tomorrow. So I got that in so I can go home.
Smudge, you getting old.
Tell me about it. Also, 2 staff members are leaving us that meant a lot to me in my success. One is Mr. Randy Harrington. Randy will be leaving us to become the town manager of Holly Springs. If you all don't know, Randy was CFO for a long period of time, and his last claim to fame, he made NLC a very successful event for us. So is Randy still here?
Yeah, right there.
Best of luck, my friend. And the last one is Alvin Burney. Gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do without Alvin. Alvin is taking the job with the HR department, so he's not left Charlotte, but he's left the 15th floor, and we would no longer see him on the 15th floor. So, Deborah, I don't know who's going to take care of me. Alvin, you've been a tremendous success to all of us with technology and constituents, and so we wish you the best of luck in your new career. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Ms. Ashmara.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I want to thank those who came to my town hall, Safety in Schools Town Hall. I was joined by CMPD Chief Putney and CMS Superintendent Dr. Wilcox and a school board member, Margaret Marshall. And they provided an update on what we are doing to address the safety concern here at the local level, starting from more training, to rolling out a training in every school, to hiring more resource officers, to health counselors. And for those who attended, I really appreciate your attendance and helping us spread the word on the steps that we are taking at the local level to address the safety in schools. Also, I want to thank my mom and my sister and my boyfriend for coming here to visit and putting up with me. With that, I hope you enjoy your stay here in Charlotte.
We're going to pray for you.
It's a good man, stay through the whole council.
Mr. Phipps. Yeah. Mr. Phipps.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Larry Hyatt, the owner of Hyatt Gun and Coin, for sponsoring a gun safe giveaway last Wednesday to help prevent larcenies from autos, guns stolen from autos and trucks, in association with Hyatt Gun Shop and CMPD. Mr. Hyatt has ordered, I don't know, he says he's ordered about 10,000 of these gun safes that you can just secure in your car. So when people break in, you know, if you have it properly secured, they won't be able to just bust through the glove compartment and take, you know, a firearm out. You don't want to turn a petty crime into a violent crime. Charlotte still is up there high in terms of guns stolen from vehicles, and so we're hoping that this will help stem the tide of those kinds of thefts leading to dangerous firearms in the hands of those who didn't lawfully obtain them and doing various things in the community harm. So I want to thank him for that, and we look forward to, hopefully it'll make a difference in the statistics as they move forward over the summer months and into the fall. So if you're interested in coming out to Hyatt, they're selling them for a rocket low price of $10.99. That's the pre-tariff price right there. Because otherwise you really couldn't get these safes for that price. Wow. So just come on out.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bakari, can you beat that?
No, and I never can beat what Councilman Phipps does, which is why I requested offline to go in a different order, not after. I just wanted to relay a great message of thanks to our Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department in their performance in the lip sync battle competition that's been occurring. I had asked them if they would use a bit of an edgier song, but I think they wanted to go with something that resonated with all walks of life. So I will applaud their efforts and still look around this dais for our uniting moment with the city council lip sync battle and how we could do that together tonight.
Moving right along to Mr. Newton.
Tonight. I wanted to thank all of the many participants who made this year's Hickory Grove 4th of July Parade possible. There was a lot of fear in the community as to whether or not it would occur, and with the help of local businesses, neighborhood associations, individuals, in East Charlotte and beyond, we made it work in 3 weeks. I wanted to thank my city council colleagues who were a part of the festivities, including the mayor, Councilmember Phipps, and also Councilmember Eggleston, who were both judges at the parade. The parade this year, once again, in 3 weeks, was able to raise more money than it had ever before, and we had more parade participants than ever before. It was really fantastic, 50th year anniversary in honor and memory of Susan Lindsay, and I can't wait for next year. Also wanted to thank our city staff members who helped make this possible as well, particularly the folks in special events. Wanted to thank the Red Cross, particularly Angela Broom-Powley and Jack Rasner. For anyone who hasn't heard, there was a terrible fire at the Woodscape Apartments this past week. 15 units burnt down, 40 residents, predominantly of our immigrant community, have been displaced. They are currently being housed by the Red Cross at Albemarle Road Elementary School and the middle school as well. Anyone who's interested in donating clothing, diapers, and toys, please swing by Albemarle Presbyterian Church between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Tomorrow all the way out till Friday. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I want to extend my thanks to Crisis Assistance Ministry, New Hope Baptist Church, as well as Hawthorne's Pizza, who is going to be providing meals here in the next couple of days. I wanted to remind folks about the Monroe Road Streetscape Open House, which is going to be happening at the Ovens Auditorium, Ovens Auditorium tomorrow from 4:30 till 7:30 p.m. And then also the Independence Boulevard Express Lane open houses will be happening on Wednesday and Thursday. The Wednesday open house is going to be at the CPCC Levine campus on Building 2 in Matthews at 4 p.m. And then the Thursday open house is going to be at Pineville United Methodist Church in Pineville at 4 p.m. Thank you so much.
That's it.
Thank you. With that, we are.
Motion to close, second.
Second.
Oh, good.
I just need your 2 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
And we have pizza, speaking of pizza.
Oh, Lord have mercy.